Mike O'Hearn, natty or not? I'm going to tell you. Stay tuned. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your weekly 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Bodybuilding, non-bodybuilding, whatever is on your mind, it is all on the table. This is your forum to Ask Dave, be it bodybuilding, diet, training, supplementation, anything and everything going on. The IFBB Pro League calendar, obviously the Arnold Classic, now 5.5 weeks away. This is your forum to ask Dave whatever is on your mind. We're going to go right into the questions. The first two questions on this show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. I'm trying to add more lean tissue, but because I have IBS, food just goes right through me. So my body isn't absorbing any of the nutrients of the food. I've been stuck at 255 for months. I'm 6'4", very lean. Not sure what the solution would be because I've tried everything.
It's definitely a dilemma. It's a problem. Absorption is huge. You can consume all the food you want. If you don't absorb it into your bloodstream, right? You don't digest it, break it down, absorb it, and then get it into the muscle cells. It doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything, right? And people with colitis have an inflammation of the lining of their, either small intestine or colon. There's different types of colitis, Crohn's versus ulcerative colitis and stuff like that. But the bottom line is that the integrity of the internal, environment of your intestinal tract has been disturbed. And because of that, you get malabsorption in that area, meaning you can't absorb through that part of the intestinal tract. It's irritated, it's raw. A lot of times it's bloody in certain areas. What rebuilds that? Well, we know that good gut healthy bacteria will rebuild that. So taking probiotics, very important, obviously. Feeding the probiotics with what we call prebiotics, fibers. And what is that? That's soluble fiber. So if you take a product like our Fiberlyze, twice a day, you're giving the gut bacteria a food source that they could ferment, that soluble fiber. And that's going to help make these things grow strong and then grow over these damaged portions of the intestinal tract and fortify that. Glutamine that everyone used to think was good for muscle growth, which it really isn't, is great for the lining, internal lining of the colon and the intestinal tract. The cells grab it up, they use it, and then they heal themselves. Very good. So taking glutamine, a couple grams a day, is definitely going to help that as well. Now, some of these healing peptides like BPC, TB500, help with healing throughout the body. But what if you take they have a glow stack, they call it. It's 4 different ones. It's BPC 157, TB500, KPV, and copper peptide. Copper peptide, another good healing peptide. But the KPV is really good for inflammation, okay, or neutralizing inflammation. Matter of fact, Larry Pollock on our after hours show has colitis, and he says that the KPV is basically saved his life. It makes his colon feel amazing because it really reduces a lot of that inflammation. So that'll reduce inflammation. The other healing peptides will heal it up. You have glutamine. You have good prebiotic fiber to feed the gut bacteria. Then you can take a probiotic on top of that, which is putting in the good bacteria in there. And I think that combination of all those things is going to help you and help the recovery. I would add Omega-Lyze in there as well, and V Mineralyze for the vitamins, minerals, and then, of course, the essential fatty acids are also great anti-inflammatories as well. And I think if you can take that on a regular basis, you're going to rebuild that colon and you're going to start absorbing your food a lot better.
Second question, again, these first two from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Question about Samson Dauda. Obviously, putting on a lot of size. I guess that's a bit of an understatement this offseason heading into his 2026 season. I saw on a previous episode of Ask Dave when you talked about Samson that he needs to, quote, solidify his gains. Can you please explain what exactly this means, and how would you recommend a client to go about this process?
Solidifying gains is like solidifying fat loss. And it might be like a loosely, made up term by me, but what's happening is when you build muscle, okay, let's say you go from, 300 to 340 in his case, okay, obviously probably 15 pounds of that is water at least, let's say 10 pounds of solid muscle, which is a lot, right, for a guy his age, his size, to put on 10 solid pounds of muscle, okay. That 10 pounds that your body has added, if you immediately go into a dieting situation or a calorie deficit situation, you might lose some of that because the body hasn't accepted that additional muscle weight as being part of the body yet. It kind of like thinks, well, it's like adding fat. We might want to just get rid of that muscle because it hasn't been here that long. But the longer you can maintain that 10 pounds of muscle, let's say you maintain it for 6 months. Okay, now you're a solid 10 pounds of muscle bigger. You've had it on your body for 5 to 6 months. Your body now has reestablished its own set point, and now that extra 10 pounds of muscle has become part of your body. So now, if you don't eat enough food or you go into a dieting state, you're less likely to lose that muscle first because the body now has reestablished its equilibrium at this new increased body weight. However, if you don't wait long enough, a lot of times that muscle can disappear. Same thing with fat loss. If you diet off, 50 pounds of weight off your body, okay, let's say 15 of that is water, and then the rest is, fat. 35 is fat. If the day you lose the 35th pound of fat, you go back to eating the way you did before, a lot of that fat's going to come right back because the body hasn't gotten rid of it long enough for your body to change its new set point. It still thinks it's the fatter person, so it's going to want to go back to the fatter person. But if you maintain that weight loss for 3-4 months during a contest prep, after you go off the diet, more than likely now when you eat more food, your body's not going to try to go back to what it was 6 months ago. Maybe it'll gain 10 pounds back, but that's about it. So reestablishing a new set point only occurs, okay, in the body when you've maintained weight loss or weight gains for an extended period of time. How long is it? It's usually a month to 3 months. That's usually the average. But if Samson can now stay at 340, 345, or whatever he wants to stay at for, the 2-3 months before he starts his Olympia prep, I think that muscle will be set in stone and it's going to be there at the Olympia. I think if he was going to say, I want to do Pittsburgh, and he starts dieting tomorrow, he might not keep a lot of those gains and he might go right back down. And that's what I meant by those. By the way, 2 good questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. If you want to join the app, it's $29 a month. You get me as a coach in the back pocket of your pants or wherever you store your phone. You can download it at the Android store or the iTunes store. It's a great resource. All my writings, all my videos I've ever done in an organized fashion, all the protocols, my keto diet, my cyclical keto diet, my off-season diet, all the drug cycles I recommend for people, men, women, advanced, beginners. I also answer everyone's questions in an open forum. So you see everyone's questions and answers. Great learning experience. I do a Q&A video exclusively for the app members every single week. So you get an extra episode of Ask Dave. It's a lot of knowledge in your back pocket, constantly being updated every single week. Thank you for your support. I can't thank you guys enough. The reason I keep doing this is we have a ton of members on the app and everyone seems to love it. So thank you so much.
Before we go to the rest of our questions, our friends at Titan Medical Center, the highlight for this week, RETATRUTIDE. Been a game changer for so many. Even if bodybuilders or anyone who uses it doesn't want to shred but not lose muscle, microdose. So RETATRUTIDE, the weekly special at Titan Medical.
I have a funny RETATRUTIDE story. It's not really that. Luckily, it's funny because nothing bad happened. But the person who ordered the RETATRUTIDE from Titan Medical, and by the way, Titan has been giving tremendous deals on this product. This is a very expensive product. It's a lot of people can't even get it in the pharmacies because they're out of it. and Titan Medical has it in stock. They have a very competitive price. And if you go there this week and mention Dave Palumbo or RX Muscle, you're going to get an even better deal. Okay, so this is a good week to buy it. But the point of this guy gets the syringe full, and he's supposed to take 10 units, which is whatever I think it's the starting dose of 1 or 2 milligrams. Somehow, I don't know how he misinterpreted. He took the whole syringe basically, which is like it's like 10 weeks worth or something like that in one shot. I don't know how he didn't get violently ill and just want to die, because the stuff will make you really nauseous if you take too much of it. I know he didn't feel good, but make sure you understand how to measure what you're taking. That means if you're buying it from Titan and you don't understand, call them up. Say, guys, how do I use this? I'm not sure what you mean by 10 units on an insulin syringe. Okay. I mean, even though it's marked 10, 20, 30, 40, but a lot of people don't know the difference. They think the 100 is the 10. Don't do things if you're not sure. There's no such thing as a dumb question. And I've gotten some dumb questions, but I always say, you know what? There is no such thing as a dumb question, because I'd rather answer the question 2 or 3 times to make sure that you have it solidified in your mind than for you to make a mistake. But very infrequently does that happen, but it does happen. If you're not sure, ask me, ask Titan, whatever. There's always people who want to help. There are people who are going to make fun of you, but that's why I tell people, don't post stuff online and say, oh, who knows how to do this? Ask people like myself or Titan, or people who are professionals, who know what they're doing, how to measure things. There's a lot of people who just never did well in math in school. They can't figure out, IUs versus milligrams versus micrograms. Just ask the questions. There's plenty of people who can answer them.
And again, if you mention Dave Palumbo, RX Muscle at Titan Medical, if you give them a call or on through their website, titanmedicalcenter.com, they will give you the royal hookup. We go to the rest of our questions from our Instagram page, official_RX Muscle, our Facebook page, RX Muscle, as well as our YouTube community page, the post tab, and that's where we take the vast majority of the questions for the show. This conversation has seemed to come up recently. It's been one that's permeated this industry for the better part of a decade. And that is Mike O'Hearn natural, and does it matter?
I can't tell you how many times I've been asked this question, because obviously people know that I'm friends with Mike. To be honest with you, we never really talk about this. I've never asked him. He's never offered. It has nothing to do with our friendship. But I'll say this. What is natural, first of all? Okay, no one is natural. The only person who's natural is the person who only eats food. Okay, if you drink a protein shake, you're not natural. Okay, because you don't naturally find 50 grams of protein in 4 ounces of water. It doesn't happen like that, right? You have to eat, you have to eat a pound of fish to get that much. So no one's natural. Anyone who takes supplements is not natural. Nowadays, everyone's on peptides, which they've convinced themselves are just proteins, right? But so is growth hormone, IGF-1, and insulin are peptides as well. So if you take those, you can say I'm on peptides. So, we know Mike O'Hearn takes peptides. He represents TitanMedicalCenter.com. Remember when I did the intro to the show, right after I did the intro, the Titan commercial came on right after, which I thought was pretty ironic, but I didn't even think about it. But the fact that Mike takes peptides means he's not natural. Does he take steroids? I don't know. I never asked him, to be honest with you. He might be on HRT, it's possible. But the question is it possible to be natural and be a great bodybuilder? There are guys out there who don't do anything but food. A lot of these natural guys don't do a million different nutritional supplements, which makes them, in my mind, not natural either, because that doesn't occur in nature like that. You can't get 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C in something the size of a little pill or capsule. It doesn't happen in nature like that. So that's not natural. So I think that people have to stop getting caught up with how, is this guy natural? Is he not natural? I was talking to one of the female bodybuilders, competitors' husbands, and I said, you know what? These people cry about this girl's taking so many drugs, or this girl injected something in their legs. And the bottom line is that nothing in bodybuilding is natural. There are no rules. And the only rules that exist are the rules that you impose upon yourself. So if I'm a woman and I don't want to turn into a man, and I refuse to take more than Anavar and maybe a little Winstrol and some fat burners, then that's what I choose. There are other women who choose to take everything in the kitchen sink. They'll take trenbolone, they'll take testosterone, drugs that will masculinize them to no end. And it does. They shave their face every day. They got a deep voice. They got, all this, every side effect. They're losing their hair. And those women are fine with that. But that's bodybuilding. There are no rules in bodybuilding. So you make your own rules in terms of what I will use and what I won't. And you draw your own line in the sand. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that that's where I stand. I notoriously, Linda Murray didn't use a lot of drugs ever, as far as I know, growing up. I remember talking to Chad Nichols, her coach, and he was shocked at how little she used. She was just trained really hard. She had great genetics, and she didn't need it. You could tell she's very feminine. She's in her 60s now. The woman looks amazing. She's still beautiful. So that was the line she drew in the sand. She could have tried to take more, especially when Iris Kyle started beating her. She decided not to, and you respect that. So everyone has their own line in the sand that they draw. Mike O'Hearn has his own set of rules that he's laid down for himself. He's made a living off of being the natural, guy who is, beyond genetics. And I don't think he's going to change his mind or change his rhetoric anytime soon, because that's his calling card that makes him his money. He doesn't even compete anymore, so it doesn't even matter. He doesn't do natural shows. And if he wants to portray himself as natural, that's fine. He does use peptides. He talks about it all the time on the Titan Medical Center. So he is using peptides to help him with his rejuvenation and stay young. And let me tell you, he's doing an amazing job. I wish that I looked as young as he did. But he's a genetic freak too. The guy has got some of the most amazing genetics I've ever seen. So don't compare yourself to other people. Lay your own rules down, draw your own lines in the sand, and stick to your gut. And that you can't go wrong.
Question about collagen, and you are seeing around the landscape of supplements, it'll be supplement A with collagen on its own. You see collagen in supplement stores, you see collagen as a standalone item at Trader Joe's. What is collagen? Should I buy the protein bag or the creatine that has collagen in it?
Sid, Sid was privy to a conversation I was having with one of my manufacturers just before, and our broker who gets us all our products. And basically, he heard the price of whey protein isolate is so high right now that it's that people are looking for alternatives because it's so expensive to make it. What I'm paying now per pound to make it, okay, is more than what I used to charge retail to the consumer. That's how much whey protein has gone up in price. So if I didn't raise my prices like everyone else raised their prices, we would be out of business because you couldn't sell whey protein today for what we were selling it for 5 years ago, not even 3 years ago. It's just off the charts expensive. So what other people are looking at, these companies look for, is they look for cheaper proteins. So you might say, well, how about egg? Well, Rich Kaspari does egg. Rich and I talk all the time. Egg is more expensive than whey, or it's just about the same price. During the bird flu epidemic, it actually was higher than whey protein isolate. So that's not an option, right? And so then people go to beef protein, but not all people can eat beef. Some people are kosher and stuff like that. Beef doesn't have a great taste. So what do? The other option is vegan. Everyone knows vegan protein sucks, right? Because there's no branched chain amino acids in there. So collagen protein. Well, what's collagen? Well, it's digested tendons and ligaments and cartilage. All the shit we throw out. We don't eat the stuff in our diet, right? Well, they melt it down and they blend it. They add some disgusting flavoring system into it, and they try to make it taste palatable. And now they're selling that. And the way they're selling it is, if you have joint problems, if you have this hair problems, nails, they're trying to market it, put a marketing spin on it so that you'll say. Plus, it's got look how much protein is in here. It's just a crappy form of protein. I mean, you would never sit down and eat a cartilage steak, right? Or a ligaments and tendons in place of spaghetti, right? It's not gonna be very appetizing. But if we can melt that shit down and say it's a protein source, which it technically is, we can sell it as such. And so I think they're selling it for health benefits. Personally, unless I was completely desperate, I would not use a collagen protein. No.
Question about. So we've had a lot of questions about V Mineralyze, and I know you're we get a lot of questions about the dosing and how to go about taking V Mineralyze. So last week you took a question about convincing somebody to take V Mineralyze who's taking, say, a 1-a-day Centrum. Well, in this case, it's when taking V Mineralyze, do you recommend splitting the 10 pills 5 pills twice a day? I work 9 to 5. I'm a husband, kids, yada, yada, yada. Sometimes I forget to take the second 5. Is it okay to take all 10 at once?
Yeah, you could take, if you could, first of all, if you could find a bottle of V Mineralyze, let me know because I need a bottle too. It's supposed to be ready by January. Now that then we were told the end of the month. I'm hoping it's going to probably be more like the beginning of February. Whenever I reformulate, I always get screwed because you know what? There's always one ingredient they can't find or something like that. And I put these esoteric, I put methylated folic acid in there. I put vitamin K2. I put more vitamin D3 in there. So it's got so much stuff in it. They have to source every single ingredient separately, but it'll be in, I promise you. If you had more time, I would say take 3 pills 3 times a day, or maybe like 4 pills in the morning and then three the next 2 doses. It's a pain in the ass. I can't even remember to do two sometimes myself. I do one with the morning meal. I do 1 serving with the evening meal for dinner, and I split it up like that. If you had to take it all in one shot, not a problem. It's just a lot of pills to swallow. So if you can do, because think of it, you're gonna have to do 10 V Mineralyze, 6 Omega-lyze, and then if you're doing Arthrolyze on top of that, it's another 10 pills. That's a lot in 1 serving. I could swallow a lot of things. I do like 25 pills at a time in my mouth, and I can do it. But not many people can do that. So it's going to be a lot of swallowing if you're doing all those pills individually. So, I mean, try it. Yes, it doesn't have to be spread out. You can do it all in one shot, but it's probably more effective in the sense that it disperses a little better if you do have the time to do, it twice a day.
Training related question about front raises. Are they overrated? Many coaches advise avoiding them and devoting more time to side and rear delts, as the front delts are stimulated by the incline bench press. Anyway, your opinion.
I find a big difference between doing front delts as opposed to not. Now, what I noticed is, and I don't know if this is since I've had my my shoulder replacements, I'm not that strong front delt wise. I usually grab a cable handle. I hold it either like this, or I do one set like this and one set like this. I bring it up, and like I said, I usually keep one hand right here. So as I'm bringing it up, I can actually feel the real delt moving and flexing. I find that it actually works a little more effectively than any other movement. Now I use a cable. Okay. I don't use a dumbbell. You can use a dumbbell too. The cable keeps kind of continuous tension, but I go really light. Like I can't go heavy. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if that's from the fact that now I have an artificial joint in there. But for that movement, I don't feel that strong, but it feels heavy to me. So, I do feel an increase in strength since I've been doing it. And I feel like my front delt has improved a lot. So my suggestion is I would definitely do front raises. I usually start with like a dumbbell, seated dumbbell press. Then I'll go to side lateral machine. Then I'll go to front raises, and then I go to rear raises. A lot of times I do rear raises on the side lateral machine. And then I'll go do some sort of a shrugging movement, usually off the ground. They have a nice machine at Crunch, but you can use free weights, and dumbbells are fine as well. After the shrugs, I do some hyperextensions, and I'm done for the day. That's it. But I do think that it's worth doing the front raises. I think they offer a benefit. The problem I think a lot of you guys have is you try to go too heavy, and you wind up cheating and or straining that muscle. There's no reason. Remember, this movement, uses a lot of rotator cuff too. So you might want to warm your rotator cuff up with some dumbbells like this. And I usually grab a cable and I do the side like this, with the cable. So once you get those rotator warmed up, then you can go right to the shoulder workout. But definitely don't skip front delts.
Question about training. I mean, and you kind of just mentioned it towards the end of the last answer. Training with maximum weight. Do you always, or during your day? Did you always train with maximum weight, or did you occasionally train with less weight some weeks, and I guess for an extended period of time, to allow for your nervous system and joints to recover?
Well, when I would contest diet, my weights, I would keep my weights as heavy as possible for as long as possible. Usually when I got down to that last 6 weeks, I wasn't lifting as heavy anymore, and I was having to do some more machine movements and stuff like that. But I still always pushed to what felt to be heavy. I think that's an important point. Remember, I said this once before, and I don't know if it's actually true. I'd love someone to do a study. I find that people that are naturally crazy strong, you know those guys. Remember the guy in high school who can bench press 405? He weighed like 135 pounds. How the heck did he do it? I always think it's a curse to be too strong, and I'll tell you why. Because when you're trying to really stimulate a muscle and break it down so that your body can come back and build it bigger, okay, it's hard. If you're just naturally strong, you have to lift a lot of weight to actually be able to damage the muscle fibers enough to get an actual response. So you risk injury when you're lifting too heavy. Whereas the weak guys, when they get but they can push and actually get a really good workout with a lot less weight, and yet they're getting good gains from it, but they're not really putting their body at a risk. So yeah, you have to overload the muscle, okay, no matter what. That's the key. You must lift heavy if you want to build a big, dense physique. I've never seen anyone use high reps, with the exception of Paul Dillette and Vince Taylor, who might be the two biggest genetic freaks I've ever seen. Those guys can grow big arms with a 20-pound dumbbell. Most people cannot do that. Most people have to push in the gym. So yes, the goal should be the last set of every exercise should be, a heavy enough weight that you can just barely get 4 reps out for. That's what you're shooting for.
Another question about you during your competing days. When you were at your prime, what was your favorite post-workout meal? And I'll add to that, I mean, now you, in your capacity as a coach, how do you go about designing somebody's ideal post-workout meal / supplementation?
Right. Yeah, when I competed back in the day, at least the second half of my career, my pre-workout meal, and this is, I'll be honest, I used to do McDonald's. I used to get up very late. I would wake up at 11:30, 12 noon. I get showered. I get my act in. I go right to McDonald's. I would eat my meal. They always had it ready for me. Usually I had a lot, and I would meet people for consultations in McDonald's. I had a booth there that was like mine because I was there every day, and I actually did consultations there. People would drive in, sometimes from Pennsylvania, all over the state, and I would meet people there, and I would do their diets and talk to them about nutrition and go through all their blood work with them and everything like that. That was my office before I had an office, believe it or not. And so I would go, then after McDonald's was over and after I did a few consults, I would go to the gym, I would train, and then every single time before I leave the gym, I would have them make me or I'd bring it myself, a Metrex with an Ultra Fuel. So usually it was like 100 grams of carbs and like 45 grams of protein. And that was my post-workout, meal, okay, or shake, whatever you want to call it. High, a protein that's easily digestible. I'm going to absorb it fast and get it into my bloodstream. And then I was going to reglycogenate the muscles too with at the time I was using Ultra Fuel. Nowadays I use Isolyze and Carbolyze, much cleaner, goes through much better. Nothing bothers my stomach. Way better option. But that's by far my routine. I'm a pretty routine guy. Every time I do it, I'm consistently pre-workout, post-workout. You got to do it. If you want to grow and you want to make improvements, that's the way to do it.
Question that we do get a lot, fairly, cyclically, I guess it's about controlling BP while on cycle. So this one is the best way to control BP if it's consistently, he's asking you rather, what's the best way to control if it's consistently 155 over 83 and Telmsartin won't lower it while on cycle?
Did he say he's on a blood pressure medication or no?
Telmsartin, yeah.
Oh, Telmsartin. And if Telmsartin is not working, and I see in a lot of bodybuilders, it's a very safe medication. It's an angiotensin receptor blocker. So it blocks the receptor for angiotensin, to convert make the other conversion. So basically what it does is it dilates the blood vessels. Now the ACE inhibitors do the same thing, except they do it through inhibiting the enzyme system, not the receptor. So it's kind of like a Nolvadex versus a Remedex thing. They pretty much work similar. But I find that the ACE inhibitors are less resistant to not working. Excuse me, yes, they're less resistant. Whereas the Telmsartin and the angiotensin receptor blockers, sometimes they work, and in some people, they don't work at all. I don't know why. No one's done a study on this. In some bodybuilders, they do not get good results on that. And then what happens is they go to the doctor, and the doctor winds up putting them on diazide, which is a diuretic, and a beta blocker, and that really doesn't work very much. And now they're cramping all the time because they're too dehydrated. Bodybuilders should not be taking diuretics all the time. So what I tell people to do is if you're taking Telmsartin or Valsartan, it doesn't work, ask your doctor to put you on Ramipril. That's what I take, 5 milligrams twice a day. And I'm telling you, it works great. It controls my blood pressure, nothing to worry about. And I never have any of the other side effects that some of these other guys get. It just doesn't seem to. It's been around a very, very, very long time. And because of that, there's a lot of research on it. And it seems to be the safest one for kidneys. It's the safest one for controlling blood pressure. And it has virtually zero side effects.
Take one more question. Earlier in the show, we talked about collagen and how you'll find it in supplement stores. You'll also find it at your local Trader Joe's. Another one is psyllium husk. Same thing. You'll find it at supplement stores. You'll find it as a standalone item at your local supermarket. Why is Fiberlyze better than just taking psyllium husk?
I get this question a lot. And, it's funny because I get people who use Fiberlyze and they're like, holy Matt, now I know what everyone's talking about. I thought you guys were just trying to hype the product. I literally was taking Metamucil. I didn't even realize it wasn't working. And then I took your product. And it was a world of difference. And the difference is we both use psyllium. Metamucil uses psyllium. I use psyllium husk. The difference is I use the expensive psyllium husk. It's called high swell rate psyllium. It absorbs more liquid, into it. It's much more expensive. No one usually buys it because it is so expensive. And these companies, especially Metamucil, who's selling to old people, they got to make money. So they don't care. As long as it says psyllium on there, they're fine with it. If it doesn't work as good, so what? They'll tell you to take more of it. I want the most potent fiber supplement on the market. I just saw Nick Walker, making a comment on a Fiberlyze pose, and he was like, "Oh, I don't leave home without my," or something like that. He said he was making a joke about how he loves the product, and he's still using it. And it's true. People know once they use the product that there is no fiber supplement that's more potent out there. And you know what? It actually tastes good too. I thought that was important. I always like aftertastes to me are very important. Even though I gulp things down, and most people gulp the fiber down, the aftertaste it leaves in your mouth really makes an impression on whether you're going to continue using it. If it has a nasty, saw paper or sawdust taste to it, or it tastes like you just put wood chips in your mouth, you're not going to want to be swallowing it all the time. And so they sell generic psylliums. They sell, psyllium and Metamucil, and it tastes pretty good, but it doesn't work. Doesn't work because they're selling you a cheap, low swell rate psyllium. The more water that the psyllium absorbs, the better it's going to bulk your stool and work that colon and do its magic. So, and feed those gut bacteria. So I don't skimp. I don't skimp on protein. I don't skimp on vitamins and minerals. I don't skimp on the essential fatty acids in omega-6. I don't skip on any of our products whatsoever. They are maybe a little more expensive, but you're going to get the best. And when you get the best, it does what it's supposed to do. Try the Fiberlyze. I promise you'll never stop using it. I don't even need to say anything anymore. Once people try it, they don't switch back to what they were using before. And there's a reason, because it actually works. And the reason it works is because of the high swell rate psyllium that's in there.
That's going to do for this episode of Fast Dave right now on the channel. All new episode of the After Hours podcast, where the guys talk about the future of dating and whether that's basically going to be dating female AI robots. You're going to want to check that out. And then, of course, all new episode of Heavy Muscle Radio, Dave Palumbo and Chris Aceto breaking down the week that was and the week to come in bodybuilding. If you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss this or any of the show segments that we have on this channel. Arnold Classic in 5.5 weeks. So we're going to be starting up our preview segments, preview coverage of the Arnold Classic in the beginning of the 2026 IFBB Pro League calendar. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.